everyone, it's Mel with Petrichor Soap Company coming to you with another soap making video, and today we are making Prairie Fog, which is our Earl Grey tea scented bar. So in this bar you've got rich vanilla, tea, like black tea, and bergamot all come together. So um, just pretty standard start off here, just getting the oat milk and into the base oils. This is going to be a 16 bar recipe, so not a tiny one, but not a huge one either. Um, I am restocking this and just changing it up a little. When I had originally made this, I put actual crushed up tea leaves in the base. And I decided to leave those out this time just to remove that bit of exfoliation and just make it appealing to a bit of a wider audience. Now, I am going to color the base with some charcoal, which activated charcoal, which is going to add an element of exfoliation. If you've never used a soap bar with activated charcoal in before, it is a very super fine particulate, and you will feel it a bit, but I would really hesitate to call it exfoliation, but it's there, and it is what it is. So I hope you all had a good Thanksgiving weekend if you're in Canada and you're celebrating Thanksgiving. Um, We did. It was just quiet. We just made something in the slow cooker and just had a meal to the two of us. We don't have a lot of family here, so usually uh, our celebrations are pretty quiet and pretty low key, which is just fine with us because that's what we like. Um, but it's always nice kind of to mark the harvest season. The things are winding down. I suppose if you're in Australia, your summer is just about to get going, so you got that to look forward to. Here we're just waiting to get hit by the first round of snow, which still doesn't seem like it's going to be coming anytime soon, so fingers crossed. Even though it's really dry and we could use something. Uh, so this fragrance that I'm using for this bar is a mix of London Fog from Island Escape and another fragrance. I'm just keeping that one to myself because it took a lot of time to make this blend, a lot of research, a lot of money. But yeah, we start off with London Fog from Island Escape, which is a really beautiful fragrance, really rich, creamy. Um, Definitely check it out if you've never smelled it before. So as I said, I'm going to be using activated charcoal in the base just a bit. I want to give it a gray tone. Um, because this is a discoloring fragrance, and it's going to go brown, not a super dark brown, but a brown nonetheless, and putting a little bit of the gray in lends it that gray tone, which I sort of associate with London Fog or Earl Grey. Makes it a little bit different than like a coffee soap or what have you. Over the weekend, I did drop some bars off at a new retail stockist in Devon, and that was pretty exciting. It's called Urban Whyte. It's a beautiful shop. They just moved into a location just kind of neighboring the one they were at previously. And yeah, it's so nicely decorated in there, and so happy to be invited in by them to have our soaps in the shop. Um, if you check out on Instagram and my stories today, I just posted a picture of their beautiful display of our bars. So super excited for that. I actually grew up in Devon. It's a small town near here. And it was kind of nice to go back for the day. Afterwards I parked at the high school and walked around a bit, reminisced and kind of felt old seeing how everything is I don't want to say decaying, but it's certainly getting a little worn out around there. But that's okay. Time goes by. Uh, the the bar itself, there's not a whole lot that's exciting going on here. You're gonna have the gray base with the fragrance, and then no fragrance at all in the sort of white frosting or crema that's gonna go on top, just so that it'll stay that nice cream color as the bar cures. I've been wrestling with Canada Post's website today because they're offering their free shipping promotion, and to no one's shock, there's hundreds, if not thousands, of business owners trying to get on their website today to use the promotion codes that they sent out this morning, and it's causing them server issues, so they are not set up to handle the volume of people trying to use their services, even though they're encouraging people to use their services. So that's a little bit frustrating. Canada Post is kind of frustrating all the time. I don't know what the postal services are where you are, but anytime you've got sort of a monopoly, it leads to kind of crappy service and really expensive rates. But there's not much we can do about it. There are other carriers like FedEx and Purelator, but they're not always as convenient for me to get to drop things off. I was going for a bit of a shallow drop swirl in this bar. It was a little bit thicker than it was the last time I made it, so I go in with a spoon to do some texturing. But overall, I think the next few batches coming up, much more fluid. So I'm sort of getting the hang of this recipe, I think, and the water discounts and all of that, working with the oat milk in it. I don't want to say that because you never know. One of these videos coming up might just be another accelerating disaster, but the last few have gone pretty good. I'm trying to keep it fluid, so I'm not doing a whole lot of stick blending to get that last bit of white in there. The thing when you're always leaving fragrance out of your topping or part of the batch is it typically remains quite fluid while the rest is going to start setting up. And you'll see when I go to pour it in here that the base is quite a bit thicker already than the top will be. So you have to pour from higher up to actually get it to break through the surface of the soap. But I wanted most of it to stay on top anyway because I wanted it to sort of look like cream dispersing into tea. And I'm going to try a new swirling technique with this spoon here. I wanted to have bigger swirls than the chopstick, kind of goes a little bit wispy. So I was gonna try it with this spoon and see what happened. It never stopped trying new things. I'm not gonna say it was a huge success, but I still think it turned out pretty cool and it achieved that sort of milk dispersing into water or tea look that I was going for. You'll see when we get to the cut in a moment, but I'm just gonna get the rest of the white on top because I do. It's okay if a little bit of the gray peeks through, but I want it to be mostly um, that creamy white top. I don't know if you can hear my cat Thunder, but he's on my lap right now, chirping and generally asking for attention because he senses, like all cats, that I am in the middle of something. So I'm trying to decide whether the top is thick enough to start texturing at this point. It's really not, so I cut the camera for a bit and come back to it before I start with the texturing and the botanicals on top. This is a little bit of a different texturing technique for me as well, because I don't want it to have a really rigid, swipe back and forth structure like my classic texture. I want this to look more like the top of a drink or frothy or like cream, really soft whipped cream. It's not as exciting to look at, I don't think, to watch somebody texturing this way. But the end result's really pretty, I think. Very subtle. And for the botanicals on this one, I'm using blue cornflowers. I love how vibrant cornflowers are. Just such a beautiful, beautiful blue in contrast to that white soap and complementary to that grayish brown as well. I like using the blue cornflowers because they are often included in Earl Grey teas, especially like cream of Earl Grey. They give that creamy note to teas, so it just ties all together with the tea theme. Maybe on the next one I'll put some really nice like organic black tea on top as well, but I like the simplicity of these blue cornflowers. I think it looks quite nice. So just giving them a little tap on there, just a little pat on the head, congratulating them for being good. But I do that so that they don't all come falling off. And I'm just very, very lightly, I'm not trying to submerge them in the soap. I'm just trying to give them the lightest bit of contact, which is going to help them from coming off. And by doing it so lightly, you're also going to help them browning because you want as little touching the soap as possible. So there's a look at the top, that sort of wavy, organic texture. Really pretty. Looks very appetizing when it's wet like that, but you definitely do not want to eat the soap. I had a lot more luck getting this one out of the mold because I had put the titanium dioxide up to or not titanium dioxide, sorry. I had put the sodium lactate up to 2% and used a water discount as well. So they're pretty essential things when when it comes to working with those silicone molds. So the first bar is never quite that exciting, but you'll see more of that subtle texture as we get into it. And I did want it to be subtle. I didn't want it to be really a lot of crazy swirls, just milk as it was freshly poured into tea. And I think it looks really pretty. You can see a bit of the discoloration starting on camera here, but it is pretty hard to pick up. I will have pictures of the final cured bars on my Instagram account, so if you don't follow me there, feel free to pop by and follow at Petrichor Soap. If you've come over from YouTube, leave a shout in a comment on one of my posts that you came over from YouTube, and I will follow you back if I'm not already following you. I love supporting other makers, other creators, and I think that's one of the greatest things we can do is support each other. It's always more exciting to cut swirly bars than it is just a plain bar of soap. Even if you're making the same scent or design over and over again, you're still going to get a different result each time. And that's part of what makes soap making so enjoyable. So by far, hands down, this is one of my favorite bars. I'm going to keep it as a signature bar just because Earl Grey and tea are some of my favorite things. So this is one that will stick around, even though it is really fitting for fall, but I think it's a classic scent and something that people really enjoy. So this one will be around all the time. Though for the holiday season, we've got 16 bars, and those are going to be divided up between consignment partners as well as going into my online store. So I hope you guys have had a really great week, and I hope you enjoy watching and making Prairie Fog today. Here's a shot of the completed bar, that texture and the botanicals on top, and the really subtle swirl. I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your weekend, and thank you again so much for watching. Take care.